Okay, so good morning to everyone. Welcome to our webinar entitled Conducting Scientific Investigatory Project Research. I would like to introduce my name. I am Mrs. Jenny Chris Arshazon, your guest speaker for today. So please listen carefully as we tackle the different methods, components, concepts, and principles about scientific research. So are you all ready? Yeah, I hope so. So let us begin by accomplishing this first activity entitled Word Cloud. So what are you going to do? You will create a word cloud by providing a word or words that are associated with scientific research. Okay? So in line with this activity, you are going to type your answers in the comment box or the chat box section of our Google Meet session. So kindly see the example as shown in the slide or in the presentation about the word cloud of technology. So in this activity, focus on the words scientific research. Okay? So timer start now. I hope that everyone is really participating in our activity here in Google Meet session. Ayan, so at least, no, we are seeing that these students are really great. These kind of students are really participative. So thank you very much for um, joining and giving your ideas no in our activity. Okay, so let us tackle the meaning or the definition of scientific investigatory projects. So it is a research undertaking that applies certain scientific principles or ideas with the purpose of determining possible solutions to a problem or possible explanations to existing phenomena. So remember class, no, for us to really acquire factual or objective knowledge about different phenomena happening in our natural world, we need to utilize in our studies the scientific processes, methods, and principles. This will guide us no, in our journey as students in conducting the scientific investigatory project. Remember that you're going to perform this project in a classroom setting. So in this time of pandemic, you're going to perform the scientific project in during the distance learning modality. Okay? So there would be some adjustments that your teacher and of course you as students should be doing. Okay? But first, it is very important for all of us to determine the existing problems in our community that need solution. Kailangan natin maisip, no? Kailangan natin makita ano ba ang mga problemang meron sa ating komunidad na kailangan ng agarang solusyon. Ito yung magiging basihan natin when we are doing our investigatory projects. Like for example, no, as you can see in the slide presented to us, there is a student, no, there is a student who redesigned or innovated a waste segregation system which uses robotics technology that will ease the work no, the work of each household to segregate wastes at home. Okay? So, ang naging problema para sa kanya, yung kahirapan mag-segregate ng mga basura. 'Di ba? Sa bahay, sa community, sa establishments, and so on and so forth. So ngayon, nag-redevelop siya, no, ng isang sistema na kung saan ginagamitan ng robotics or automation. 'Di ba? Na kung saan mapapadali ang pag-segregate at the same time magkakaroon ng magandang management, no, ang mga household sa pagtapon ng mga basura nila sa tamang basurahan. Okay? So, of course, no, don't forget that your scientific investigatory project is really a part of scientific exhibition in your school. Or you can also join in some contests or science fair competition, no? And you will be able to present, no, your projects to the panel. In doing an investigatory project, you have to consider that this is your major achievement in science. Kasi napakahirap nito. Pero kapag alam niyo yung tamang proseso, no? Pag alam niyo yung tamang proseso kung paano ito ginagawa, hindi hindi na kayo ganun mahihirapan masyado. Kasi alam niyo na yung magiging step by step procedures. Kailangan niyo na lang sundin. Okay? So, through scientific investigation, you will learn how to apply the acquired knowledge that you have learned, no? With all those years that you are exposed to science. You will be learning the scientific concepts, theories, principles, and laws of nature. And in doing this, you are developing your higher order thinking skills. Alam nyo bang napakaraming skills ang madedevelop once na kayo ay gumawa ng investigatory project? Especially the analytical skill, the critical thinking skill, the research skill, the observational skill, and a lot more. Your creativity skill. So, ang dami. Ang daming ma-enhance sa inyo when you are doing scientific investigatory project. Okay? So, this time around, let us move on to the 3 categories of science investigatory projects. Okay? So, there are 3 categories. No? There are 3 categories. The concepts of science lies on these 3 categories. So these are the life science or the study of living organisms. We also have the physical science that deals with the study of matter and energy. And the last one is the robotics and intelligent machines. So this encompasses any machine or devices that use sensors, detectors to monitor the environment, no? To monitor our surroundings and to accomplish specific tasks designed for that object or device to do. Okay? So sa robotics, kailangan meron talagang background in programming, in background in codes, no, na ginagamit kasi you're going to program a device for it to become automated, no? So, yun lang yung mga kailangan na skills, no, when you are doing the robotics and intelligent machines. So, with all of these categories, you can choose, no, among these 3, a topic that you are interested with, a topic that you are willing to find solutions, a topic that you're willing to address a certain problem, no, anchored to the topic that you will choose. Okay? So, nasa kamay natin na nakasalalay kung paano natin pipiliin ang topic ng investigatory projects natin. Okay? Pero marami tayong factors, no, that we need to consider. Okay? So we're going to tackle on that later on. So this time around, what is all about life science? Kapag pinili mo to, kapag pinili mo ang life science, you can choose subtopics, no? Uh, Subtopics such as agriculture, fisheries and food, anatomy and morphology, forestry, behavioral sciences, biology, biochem, biotechnology, biophysics, ecology, evolution, and so on and so forth. Okay? So, biology students or your science students are really interested in this field. Okay? So, parang for example, no, you can test what kind of microbes or microorganisms are present in bodies of water that are nearby in your community. Okay? O kaya naman, you could also test you could also test different fertilizers that you want to apply, in your growing plants to see which ones or which ones make them grow taller. Okay? So yun yung mga typical scenarios, no, when you are going to choose life science. For example, in the in the picture that you are seeing in our slide, makikita nyo isang typical grass, no, which is called the wiregrass. But you can make it as your topic. Like for example, the project that was made by Emmeline Punzalan as the researcher, no, she was able to conduct a research entitled Antibacterial Activity of Wiregrass, Eleusin indica, and Pandanus species leaves extracts against Escherichia coli. Okay? So, dito pa lang makikita natin na ito ay life science. Bakit? There is an involvement of plants, no? Plants that belongs to the kingdom Plantae, no? So makikita natin involvement of the plants and the involvement of um, their characteristics such as the antibacterial characteristic, no? And of course, a bacteria which is known as the Escherichia coli, no, is also employed in this study. Kaya makita natin talagang it's all about life science. Okay? So parang ang gustong gawin ng researcher dito ay kung effective ba, no, ang wiregrass with pandanus species leaves, no, against the bacteria Escherichia coli. Okay. Parang ganun yung kanyang gustong mangyari, no, sa kanyang research. Okay? So, how about Sorry. Okay. So, how about the physical science? Okay, how about the physical science? So, under physical science, you can choose, no, a topic from its subtopics such as astronomy, physics, chemistry, geology, planetary science, astrophysics, and earth science. Okay? So, dito pa lang alam natin umiikot talaga, no, yung research, no, tungkol sa matter and energy. Okay? About this one, no, magandang example itong nanalo sa National Science and Technology Fair. Okay, so ano bang ginawa nitong batang ito? Napakatalino. So he was the winner of the Physical Science Individual category, named Nathaniel Reyes from Quezon National High School. So ano bang ginawa niya? Okay. So siya po ay nag-conduct, no, ng isang study na kung saan ginawa niyang charcoal or uling yung isang corn stalk. Okay, yung mga corn stalk sa kanyang community. So, tinest niya yung ability or characteristic ng mga charcoal made out of cornstalk sa algae, no? Sa algae. Kaya nga parang maganda yung study niya kasi tinignan niya kung effective ba ang charcoal made out of cornstalk doon sa algal blooms na meron sa kanilang pond, no? Nearby streams, nearby ponds. Okay. So yun doon umikot yung study, no, ni Sir Nathaniel Reyes. Okay. So the third category is all about robotics and intelligent machines. So do you know about robotics? So in robotics and intelligent machines, we use automation. Okay. So automation is the process of using physical machines, devices, equipment or apparatus, computer software, and other technologies to perform tasks that are usually done by humans. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, itong mga bagay na to, itong mga devices na to ay nagiging automatic, no? Dahil merong um, programming, merong codes na nilalagay, ginagawa ang mga owners ng mga robots na to para sila ay gumana, para sila ay maging automatic. Okay. So, there are lots of subtopics no, that you can choose or that you can focus when you are going to conduct SIP under robotics and intelligent machines. So these are the aerospace, consumers, medical, entertainment, education, industrial, and disaster response. Like for example, we have here a simple device that uses a pH sensor. Alam natin no sa science na we can test or we can detect the pH level of a certain substance when we are using the litmus paper, no, and other kinds of substances that can test the pH level. Pero dito, you can you can apply, no, the ability to detect the pH level in this robotics, in this automation. Ang importante ay magkaroon siya ng tinatawag na pH sensor. Pwede mo siyang ilagay sa isang device na ikaw ang nag-design and then pwedeng ilulubog mo lang siya. No? Pwede naman na i-expose mo lang siya sa labas, no, or whatever substances that you want to involve in your study. So ganon, no, ganon kalupit ang robotics intelligent machines. Okay, so let's move on. Ito class, no, this time I want you to recognize, no, this champion of scientific investigatory project. Her name is Mary Joyce Carla Buwan, the National Science and Technology Fair 2019's Best Individual Research in Robotics and Intelligent Machines for her project to help prevent illegal logging. Okay? So ano ba yung ginawa ni Carla? With 3,000 pesos, no? She was able to develop an alerting device that can detect the possible signs of illegal logging and kaingin. Okay. So, ano ba yung ginawa niya? Gumawa siya ng isang device na kung saan nilalagay, no? Ina-attach doon sa mga ano natin, sa mga puno, no, sa forest, ina-attach ito. So, this device can detect sounds, no? Sounds, can detect flame, can detect smoke, okay? So, can detect signs of fire, di ba? Heat, can detect the sound of a chainsaw. So, naka-attach po siya sa mga, of course, no, sa mga puno para makita kung merong mga taong nagko-conduct ng mga illegal logging and kaingin. Okay? So, ang maganda sa ginawa niya, yung mga data na makukuha ng mga detectors and sensors na meron dun sa device niya, it is directly connected to a database system using the internet. Okay? Yun ang maganda sa ginawa niya. Okay? Direktang malalaman kung ano talaga yung exact value, no? Of the data that is garnered, no, from that kind of activity. So, doon sa ginawa ni Carla, she was awarded as the best individual research, no, using this automation system. This automation system. Okay? So, ayan. So, hopefully, magkaroon din tayo ng eagerness and confidence, no, to really join this kind of contests. Di ba? And hindi natin alam, nasa kamay pala natin talaga, no, ang destiny, no? Kung tayo lang ay magiging very courageous. And of course, talagang andun yung passion natin to do our own research. Okay? Pwedeng mapasa kamay natin ang awards. Okay? Katulad ng ginawa ni Mary Joyce Carla Buwan. So what are the goals of an investigatory project? No? Why are we conducting this kind of project in our school? No? Bakit pinaglalaanan ng oras, ng effort, especially your teachers in discussing this kind of project to you as students? So basically, it will provide the students with the opportunity to apply chemistry related concepts, especially those who are planning to have a science background when he or she choose, no, a career path. Okay. O kaya doon sa mga may gustong pumunta sa field of science as their profession. Napakagandang training ground itong paggawa ng investigatory project. Hindi natin alam, yung iba sa inyo pwede maging researcher, maging doctor, maging nurse, no? Someday. So this is a good background for you because in that kind of field, you're going to apply scientific knowledge. So another one, it will develop an interest among students to engage in any scientific work as manifested in their active participation and involvement in the project. And through that, it will enhance the scientific literacy of the students that are engaged in any scientific work. 'Di ba? 'Yun ang goal natin. No? Kasi sabi nga nila, ang paglago ng ekonomiya ng isang bansa ay nakadepende sa science and technology research na meron sa isang bansa. Okay? So maganda, this one is a training ground for you students, no, to become scientifically literate and to enhance your skills that is really needed for you to become good citizens in our country. Okay, the third one is to provide students with educational opportunities and experiences through direct participation in scientific research. So, Sabi ko nga sa inyo, there's a lot of skills that will be improved once you conduct your own research. Following the scientific method and all the processes needed for you to become or to reach an effective, no, to become successful in your endeavors. Okay? And the last one, recognize the students' efforts in completing project by displaying their work. And that's our goal, no? As teachers, to recognize all your efforts in science. Okay, so this time around, what kind of research will I make in SIP? Okay, there are two classes, no, or two divisions of research. We have the pure research and applied research. In pure research, um, it is conducted with no immediate objective in mind, although the results may lead to solutions of problems in other fields. Problems in pure science may require more time. Projects under pure research can be accomplished by using this kind of methods: data gathering, survey, observations, case studies, statistical studies, or experiments. Okay, so basically, sa pure research, pag-aaralan mo ng husto ang mga existing facts in sciences. Okay, so, medyo mahaba, no, ang kailangan na oras when you are doing the pure research. Pero kailangan mo rin ng maraming statistical methods in order for you to conduct this research. On the other hand, applied research is conducted with an immediate purpose in mind. You already have a target objective, no, when you will do the applied research. It is a project that makes use of scientific principles, and the results would have immediate application or finished product. So, pinaka-goal nito, sinusolusyonan mo ang problema, and ang gusto mo ay meron kang actual product na magagawa when you are doing the applied research. It requires less time compared to pure research and focuses on specific problem. Hindi siya ganun kalawak because you're going to focus more on specific problem. Example, when you are going to develop a new packaging material for your product, that is already applied research. Okay? Because you're developing something, you're creating something out of nothing. So, ayan, no, ang pinagkaiba ng pure research and applied research. So, what will I consider in planning my SIP research? First and foremost, you should project knowledge on the area proposed for investigation. Okay, you should build your knowledge on your topic by researching for existing facts. Dapat may malawak kayong um, knowledge, no? May malawak kayong karunungan, no? Tungkol doon sa isang topic na gusto nyong gawin in your scientific project, no? In your investigatory project. Ibig sabihin, talagang paglalaanan mo siya ng research, no? Kailangan mag-iisip ka or maghahanap ka ng mga background studies, no, about your topic. 'Di ba? And you will use that, no, in order for you to create a good hypothesis in the future. So kailangan talagang malawak, no, ang iyong makuhang detalye about your topic. Second one, urgency of the problem to be researched on. Okay? So, tignan natin, baka naman yung topic na yon kailangan ng agarang solusyon. No? Kailangan talagang makita na natin ano ba yung naging problema, no, na umiikot dito sa topic na to. So baka ito yung makakatulong sa ating community. 'Di ba? Okay. It will be better if you are solving an urgent problem that needs to be addressed in your community. This will be beneficial to them. So it means you're going to relate, no, your SIP to the problems that are existing in your community. Mag-focus ka muna sa community mo. Tignan mo ano ba yung mga kailangang solusyonan, no? Kahit nga sa simpleng bahay mo lang tingnan mo, no, yung iyong mga kapitbahay, anong problema ang meron, 'di ba? So, dun pa lang naka-concentrate ka na, naka-focus ka na sa isang maliit na topic. And then, once you come up with a solution, no, through your research, of course, ito ay magiging beneficial. Ito ay makakatulong sa iyong community. 'Di ba? Mare-recognize ka, no, in your barangay because of that. What more pa kung national ang marating mo, no, you will be recognized nationwide in the Philippines. So the third one is the probability of fulfilling the objectives. So tingnan mo ngayon kung kayang-kaya mo bang gawin ang iyong project. Okay? So you should consider the SMART objectives. Okay? You have to apply this in your life, no? For example, S stands for specific, M for measurable, A for achievable, R for relevant, and T for time limited. So tingnan mo kung kayang-kaya mong gawin ang iyong target objectives. Ito ba ay specific or generalized? So kung generalized pa yung objective mo, i-trim down mo yon into specific objectives. 'Di ba? Para hindi ka masyadong mahirapan. Okay? And then, measurable. Dapat yung mga gagamitin mo sa iyong research ay nami-measure. No? So, measurable. And of course, achievable. Can you achieve it in the time that your teacher is giving to you, no? Ito ba ay kaya mong matapos doon sa allotted time na binigay sa iyo ng teacher mo? O baka naman susobra pa, 'di ba? So you have also to check the available resources. Consider your situation as a student. Kaya ba ng budget mo? Meron bang equipments or apparatuses that are available? So kung meron man, kailangan mo bang ng budget para magbayad, no? Para dun sa paggamit ng equipments from a research facility. Okay? So, tignan mo rin yung scenario, no? Baka mamaya yung research mo ay kakain ng more than 6 months, no, or more than a year, pero ang nilaan lang sa inyo ay 3 months, 'di ba? So you have to envision, no, what will happen in your research. Kailangan maagap yung utak natin. Tignan natin kung merong mga available resources. Okay. And of course, the time required to complete the project. For example, you're going to research on a dragon fruit, no? You're going to test its antimicrobial activity, antifungal activity kung meron man, no? So ngayon, nakita mo na hindi ito yung panahon or season na kung saan magbubunga ng marami ang dragon fruits, no? Yet nagpursige ka. So, paano ka makakahanap ng maraming dragon fruits? Mas mamamahal ka. Di ba? Mapapamahal ka. Kung bibili ka, at the same time, baka hindi available kasi hindi nga season. So, that's the time that you're going to consider this kind of factors, no, in choosing and planning your SIP research. Okay, and the last one is you're going to consider that this is the time of pandemic, no? This is a time wherein our educational system is employing distance learning modality. So tignan natin kung kayang gawin during this time. Okay? So, what are the specific types? Okay, what are the specific types of scientific investigatory research projects? Okay, so it could be a collection project, no? For example, in your school, you want to know all uh, the plants, no? All the trees that are uh, grown in your school premise. 'Di ba? So, dun pa lang, pwede mo na maging investigatory project yan. 'Di ba? Magkokolekta ka ngayon ng iba't ibang klase ng mga plants, and then of course you're going to research on the background of the plants, get their scientific names, 'di ba? Their characteristics, their purposes, no, their benefits to the humans. So, doon pa lang magkakaroon ka ng collection, no? Sistema ng pagko-collect at pag-rename, no? Or sabihin natin sistema na kung saan ginagather mo itong mga plants na to at gumagawa ka ng mga classifications nila. Okay, that's a good investigatory project. Another one is designing and building an apparatus, equipment, or model. Like for example, in this Arduino Smart Bin. Ito ay hindi isang ordinaryong trash can or trash bin. Bakit? There is an involvement of robotics and automation. Bakit? Nilagyan nila ng sensor ang lid ng trash can. Ibig sabihin, nakaka-detect siya kung ang basura ay papel, kung ang basura ay plastic, kung ang basura ay bakal or whatever, no? Kaya niyang ma-detect. So therefore, may kakayahan itong trash can na to na kapag ang ilalagay mo ay biodegradable, ito ay tutunog. Kapag siya ay tutunog, ibig sabihin, biodegradable yung ipapasok mo. Hindi pwede. Kasi ang trash bin na to is intended for non-biodegradable wastes. Okay? So there's an involvement of robotics and automation. Another one, developing a process for testing of products. Okay? So you can also develop, no, this kind of testing materials. For example, you're going to test the water hardness, no, among the liquids, no, that you have gathered, no. Itetest mo ngayon kung meron ba silang mga calcium, may magnesium. Okay? So kung mataas yung level, no, ng kanilang mga ions. Okay? So dun pa lang nagde-develop ka na, 'di ba? Ng mga testing processes. Next. Okay. So another one, you can also improve or develop a new product or new use for an existing product. For example, meron nang gumawa ng bioplastic material. Okay. Meron na siyang ginawang bioplastic material. Napag-aralan niya na talaga namang very good itong material na to become a container. 'Di ba? Yun ang result. Pwedeng-pwede siyang maging container. Pwede mo siyang lagyan ng load, no? For a certain limit. Ngayon, naisip mo, existing product na ang bioplastic. Ano ang gagawin mong innovation? I-improve mo. Itong bioplastic material, gagawin mo ng container. Gagawin mo ng baso. No? At from that, magkakaroon ka ng experiment kasi itetest mo ulit kung kaya. No? Upon redesigning, no, the bioplastic material, kaya pa rin ba nito yung load na na-test before, or baka naman merong pagbabago, no? Merong pagbabagong mangyayari, 'di ba, sa result. So, that is the time that you are innovating, 'di ba? Importante 'yan. Kahit meron ng mga existing product and then nag-add ka ng feature, nag-add ka ng panibagong characteristics, you are already innovating. You are using your creativity, no, in order for you to come up with a product good product in investigatory project. Okay? So maraming ganyan. Actually, maraming ganyang projects ang umiiral. Mga existing na pinapaganda pa, ah, pinapalitan ng disenyo, nilalagyan ng bagong feature, nilalagyan ng bagong function, and that is good. Kasi meron kang sariling iyo na nilaan mo dun sa existing product. Hindi mo ginaya. Kasi pag ginaya mo, totally wala kang binago. Pero meron kang binago. And that is good. Okay? So, next is finding new ways or improved ways of doing things. Okay, for example, the old ways are just a trash can, no? But in this product, no, you are going to improve it, no, by adding some detectors and sensors. Okay, for it to become a novel product, no, that is created, invented by you, 'di ba? And of course, science in everyday life, ito napakaganda kasi ito yung mga um, na-encounter natin sa pang-araw-araw, ginagamit natin sa pang-araw-araw, especially, for example, yung medicine, ginagamit natin yan sa pang-araw-araw. Pwede ka dyan mag-focus ng iyong topic. For example, no, itong 16-year-old Filipina, no, she was able to discover that aratiles plant can cure diabetes. 'Di ba? So meron pala siyang mga anti-diabetic properties, no? Nalaman niya because of the knowing the chemical components of aratiles, of the fruit aratiles, 'di ba? At naging maganda kasi ito ay na-recognize, no, na-recognize, nagkaroon siya ng award, at the same time, talagang Pinoy na Pinoy yung Aratiles, no, na kung saan, ito, meron kaming treatment, no, meron kaming cure for diabetes because of this plant na talagang alam natin kahit saan pwedeng tumubo ito kasi nasa tropical country tayo eh. Okay? So these are the specific types of scientific investigatory projects. Okay, so how do I go about with my SIP research? So tandaan natin, when we are conducting our project, we have to follow, no, a certain rule. And this rule is all about the scientific method or the scientific process. And it will start with asking a question. Mag-uumpisa ka, ano yung mga specific questions mo na gusto mong itanong, 'di ba? Na gusto mong bigyan ng solusyon, na gusto mong um, pag-aralan. Okay? So you need to ask some questions, and you can do that by merely observing what is happening in the natural world. Kailangan ka munang dumaan sa observation before you conduct your questions or identify your questions. And then after that, when you ask the question or when you identify your problem, you need to do a background research. This is the time that you're going to search for existing literatures online, in the different journals, in books, no? Kailangan mag-isip tayo, kailangan maghanap tayo ng mga credible sources that will help us in our research. Okay? So after that, this is the time now, no, that we're going to construct our hypothesis. So how can we do this? Now, how are we going to construct our hypothesis? So tatalunan ko muna. Okay? Itong other parts na to. Doon muna tayo, focus muna tayo sa constructing hypothesis. So how will you construct your hypothesis? We all know that hypothesis is an educated guess about how things work. And this one is really, really, really educated guess. Hindi ito basta-basta na lang ng hula ka nang walang basehan. Okay? Ang guess na to, ang hypothesis ay dapat meron kang basihan na existing facts or knowledge. And in order for you to construct a hypothesis, you need to involve a cause and effect in your statement. For example, you're going to include the cause and effect in your statement. Example, if blank, I do this, then blank will happen. If and then statement. If signifies the cause and then signifies the result. If is also the action that the researcher will be doing in the experiment. And the result of that action is the effect, no? Or the statement or the phrase followed by then. Example, if we increase the amount of light during studying, so that is if we increase the amount of light, so we are pertaining to the amount of light as the action that the researcher will be doing, increasing the amount of light. No, that's the variable. That's the manipulated variable, no, that the researcher is doing. So what will be the effect if the researcher will increase the amount of light? No? Sabi dito, the participants' performance on test scores will decrease. Bababa ang performance ng test scores ng participants. Okay. So this could happen, no? Depending on the action, depending on the manipulated variable, which is the amount of light. At yung effect, ang tawag sa kanya ay dependent variable. So dapat pag gumagawa tayo ng hypothesis, if and then statement, no? Or ganitong klaseng statement na kung saan makikita natin yung cause and effect. Next, how will you test your hypothesis? So, after you have constructed your hypothesis, okay, this is the time that you're going to do your experimentation process. Because you're going to test now if your hypothesis is correct or not. So how are you going to do that? How will you test your hypothesis? A trial or test carried out under controlled conditions to discover something unknown is to verify a hypothesis. Okay. So, kailangan ang experiments natin or experimentation process natin ay controlled. Meaning, kapag controlled ang ating experiment, meron tayo dapat na dependent variable and independent variable. Okay? So, tatandaan natin, ito yung magiging heart of our research. No? Ito yung pinaka-crucial sa research na gagawin natin. Kasi sa experimentation process, ang dami mong iisipin. Ang dami mong pagdadaanan na proseso in the experimental stage. Andyan yung kailangan mong maghanap ng materials. Andyan yung kailangan mong maghanap ng mga equipments na gagamitin mo. Andyan yung kailangan mong mag-isip, no? Ah, kung ano yung mga statistical treatments na gagamitin mo. Andyan din yung kung saan yung mga independent and dependent variable ay makikita, no, or magagawa sa iyong research. So, dito pa lang, dapat tandaan natin, no, experimentation should be controlled. There should be independent and dependent variable. For example, what is the difference between independent and dependent variable? Independent variable is a variable that is changed. Ito yung binabago ng researcher sa kanyang experiment, no? Binabago niya. Okay, for example, you want to experiment on the growth of a plant. Ngayon, ikaw, no, ang ginawa mong independent variable is the amount of water. So anong ginawa mo? For the plant A, there should be a less amount of water. For the plant B, there should be high amount of water. And for the plant C, there should be the least amount of water. So, iba-iba. Ibig sabihin may pagbabago sa bawat setup, no? And that is the role of independent variable. Okay? Next, how about the dependent variable? This is the effect of the action that was done by the independent variable. No? This is the effect, this is the result to the plants, no? Because of the application of the independent variable. So, nung nag-apply ka ng less amount of water, high amount of water, and least amount of water to 3 different plant setups, anong nangyari? Anong nangyari? Okay? So, nakita natin na for plant A ay talagang nag-grow, no? Nag-grow ng napakalaki ang plant A. Sa plant B na merong high amount of water, anong naging effect? Namatay yung plants. For plant C na least amount of water, nag-grow siya pero maliit. Maliit pa lang yung in-increase ng kanyang level, no? So makikita natin, iba-iba rin yung effect, no, ng dependent variable. Iba-iba yung effects base sa in-apply natin sa independent variable. Okay? So tatandaan tong dalawa, it is very important. The crucial part of our research. So when you arrive, no, at the experimental stage, you have to gather the data that you need. And in order for you to gather the data, you have to translate it into graph or table. Kasi mas ma-organize yung ideas kapag ang nakikita natin is not pure text but instead of tables and graph. Naka-arrange yung ating mga data, yung ating information na nakuha from the experiment, no? At this time around, we can now analyze the results from the table, from the graphs that we have conducted, and draw conclusion. So let us see if our conclusion will prove the hypothesis, no? Our conclusion will prove if the hypothesis is true or if our hypothesis is false. So if ever our hypothesis is false, that's the time that we can have, no? We can have a new hypothesis and we can repeat the process of the experiment again. That's the role of research talaga. Dapat repeated ang experiments, repeatable ang experiments. That's a characteristic of research na uulit. At para maging maulit siya, dapat napakadetalyado ng bawat steps na pagdadaanan natin. Ultimo yung mga measurement, talagang nilalagay nyo sa materials and methods. Kasi kailangan magagaya siya, magagawa siya ng ibang tao. Okay? Kailangan yung taong pipili ng research mo na gusto niyang gawin ay makokonduct niya ng maayos kasi nabanggit mo lahat ng detalya, ng details ng iyong research. And if ever no that your you have you if ever that your research runs successfully, this time around you can report the results, okay, report the results and publish it, no, publish it to different journals, local and abroad, publish it to some research festivals, or you can publish it to a book, no? So pag-isipan nyo ng mabuti. Okay, so for this slide, now we are asking what are the parts of a scientific investigatory project paper? Okay, so you need to follow no, all of these parts, all of the components that that an investigatory project has. So it starts with a title page, no, followed by the acknowledgement, dedication, table of contents, list of tables, abstract, and after that, we're going to include now the chapter 1 or the introduction. So it has 6 components: the background of the study, statement of the problem, hypothesis, significance of the study, scope and limitations, definition of terms. And after that, the chapter 2 should also be done, the review of related literature. So for chapter 3, we have the methodology. So you're going to explain your methods of research, methods of collecting data, the materials, the procedure, sampling design with pictures. Okay? So for chapter 4, this is now the presentation, analysis, and interpretation of data. You're going to present your data in tabular, graphical, or textual manner. But the most important is that you have to include tables and graphs, not text, not on textual format only. And then you have to analyze and interpret the data that you have include in your research. So for chapter 5, this is now the generalization. And for chapter 6, the recommendation. So what are you going to recommend based on the study? So you give ways to improve your research study. And the last one is your bibliography or references part of the research. So let us know what is an abstract. Okay, so an abstract is a short paragraph of not more than 500 words, which gives the important aspects or features of the study. Hindi mo magagawa ang abstract kapag hindi mo patapos ang iyong study. Okay? Because it has these 5 components. Hindi ito dapat na mawala when you are writing your abstract. Parang sinasabi sa abstract, ito yung pinaka-summary ng ginawa mong research. So it should contain the background, your purpose, your hypothesis, your procedure, and last but not the least, your result and conclusion. So hindi dapat mawawala yun. For example, I have here a full abstract of the study entitled Eco Fabric from blended fragrant screw pine, Pandanus amaryllifolius, leaf fibers, and cotton. Okay? So, in this research, no, the abstract is shown to us, which is composed of the background of the study, the objectives, followed by the materials and methods that were used, followed by the result and conclusion and significance. So, iso-shorten mo lahat, no? Iso-shorten mo lahat ng ginawa mo sa research into an abstract form at hindi dapat sumobra sa 500 words. Kasi ito yung talagang pinaka-gist or the summary of your research. So what about the background of the study or your introduction? It represents the reasons that lead the investigators to launch the study, may state some observation and other relevant conditions or readings that prompted the investigator to explore the problem. So it answers, no, it needs answers to the following questions. Why did we select this research project? No? Bakit kailangan kong gawin ang research project na ito? Bakit ito yung pinili kong research project? Are there others who have done similar studies? No? Tinatanong din sa atin yan. What have the others done or have not done that moved me to work in this project? Ano ba yung ginawa ng iba at hindi nagawa ng iba na nag-encourage sa akin na gawin itong project na to? Okay? What are our own observations relevant to this study? And will the result of the study make any contribution in the attainment of better quality of life? Remember na ang purpose ng science and technology is to improve the quality of life of the people, 'di ba? So dapat 'yun ang maging contribution niya, 'di ba? So iisipin mo ng mabuti yung background of the study. Okay, and this is one of the example. In this eco-fabric research, no? Tandaan ha, ito ay applied research at the same time uses a pine, no? A pine tree, Pandanus amaryllifolius, with the involvement of its leaf fibers and cotton. So ano yung background? Sabi dito, today, natural cotton is blended with synthetic polyester to mitigate the high cost of cotton. However, polyester manufacturing entails intensive energy and produces excessive carbon dioxide and nitrous oxide emissions. Okay, dun pa lang, parang sinasabi na sa'yo yung problema na meron sa community natin. Nakita nyo yung word na entails intensive energy. Okay? Ibig sabihin kapag nagpo-produce no ng mga products blended with synthetic polyester, mataas na enerhiya ang nagagamit, 'di ba? Kailangan natin mag-reduce, 'di ba? Kailangan nga natin mag-save ng energy. And at the same time, nakita nyo to, excessive carbon dioxide. Hindi natin kailangan ng mataas na carbon dioxide level. Bakit? Magkakaroon tayo ng global warming. 'Di ba? That's the problem that the community has. No? Nakita yan ng researcher. Kaya ang gusto niya, eco-fabric na makakatipid sa enerhiya and at the same time, marereduce yung amount ng carbon dioxide level. Okay? So, next is your hypothesis. It contains your tentative answers. Sabi ko nga sa inyo, this is an educated guess pero merong pinagbasehan na factual and existing knowledge. No? Each of the questions in the statement of the problem should have a corresponding hypothesis. So kung ilan yung ginawa mong statement of the problem, dapat ganun din yung hypothesis mo. Related sa ginawa mong problema. Sinasagot yung gawa mong problema. At tandaan, ang hypothesis natin should have a cause and effect. Okay, so For now, we're going to study the statement of the problem. This defines the scope and limits of the problem. It contains the main problem and sub or specific questions. No? It should start with the main problem and an opening statement for the specific questions that are numbers which will follow in an enumeration type. So like for example, no, kailangan ma-identify talaga natin yung pinaka-problem natin sa research natin. And we have to start the statement of the problem with a generalized, no, problem at the beginning. So sabi dito, the study aims to develop a new variety of device of alarming water level sensor with GSM. Okay, that can aware the people in the status of water level on their bridge or flood. And then it will be followed by specific questions. No? How would the product quality be described in terms of blank? How would the product be tested in terms of accuracy and durability? So what is the acceptability level of the product in terms of functionality? Okay, so makikita natin na talaga namang nakahimay no yung mga bawat problema na kailangan natin sa research. So significant, sinasabi lang dito bakit importante yung study natin. Why is this beneficial to the community? How it benefit no the community? So you have to state this in paragraph. Like for example, in the eco-fabric that we are talking about, no, sabi dito, this is important because the study boosts the production of environment-friendly fabrics like PTF by providing additional fiber supplies and eventually making these fabrics more affordable in the market. Okay? So yun yung importance niya. No, magiging affordable na itong mga fabrics na to in the market. Scope and limitation, simple lang, ito po yung sakop ng ating study. You need to include the time, the money, the personnel, the tools, and the techniques involved in the scope and limitation. Okay, so dito po we have this example. Ito no, tingnan natin yung example ng eco-fabric research. Specifically, this study evaluates fiber yield of the plant and the fiber properties, breaking strength, cohesion, fineness, and mean length of its leaf fibers. So pinapakita sa atin na ito lang yung focus ng study ko. Ito lang yung sakop ng study ko. Walang ibang properties ang itetest ko or pag-aaralan ko dito sa study ko. Iikot lang yung properties ng study ko sa 4, no? Breaking strength, cohesion, fineness, and mean length. Okay, so ganyan yung mga scope and limitation. Detailed pa rin siya. Okay, in review of related literature, it's really important because it tells the previous studies made on the project. Kailangan pag-aralan mo yung mga existing facts na makakatulong sa'yo para makuha mo yung resulta, yung explanation sa result mo, yung discussion sa result mo. Okay, so tandaan lang that you have to observe correct citations. Hindi sa atin yung knowledge, no? Hindi, kumbaga, meron tayong pinagkuhanan ng knowledge. That's why we have to respect the author. No? The author by means of providing citations. And we have to cite at least 15 related literatures. Mas maganda nga 5 years and below. No, yun yung kukuhanan natin ng mga existing literature, whether it be local or national or international. So research title. So this one should be clear, simple, and precise, but at the same time catchy and interesting. So dapat dun pa lang sa title makikita na kung ano yung pinag-aaralan natin sa study natin. No? For example, ito yung nanalo sa NSTF 2019 in the life science category. So sabi niya, bioactive component, antioxidant activity, and anti-diabetic properties of Muntindia calabura lean, an in vitro study. So dun pa lang nakita mo na, 3 ang gagawin na uh, properties no ng batang ito sa study niya. Ang tatlo lang yung properties na sakop niya. Doon pa lang sa title na yun, alam mo na ito yung pinaka summary no ng gagawin niya. Nandun pa lang nakita mo na ay gagamitin niya yung plant na to. Ito yung mga properties na talagang pag-aaralan niya. So doon pa lang from the title, alam mo na yung gagawin. Okay, materials and methods. So ito, medyo kailangan detalyado yung mention natin, no? Lahat ng mga kakailanganing materials. Very detailed to kasi kailangan natin repeatable ang experiment. So kailangan detalyado talaga. You should include all the significant steps in gathering of materials, preparing of setup, test and experiments, data analysis, and the materials used for each step must also be included. Okay. So maganda if you're going to use a test or procedure regulated by a research institution like DOST, hindi mo na daw kailangan i-describe pa ng detalyado yung test na yon. But you need to elaborate the tests that are personally designed and performed by the students. Kung meron silang sariling test nila na sa kanila nang galing, no, personally designed, kailangan ma-elaborate yun ng husto. Pero kapag galing sa research facility, yung test, you don't need to elaborate it anymore. But you need to include photograph, layout, schematic diagram, drawing for invention and new products. Napaka-importante po ng mga drawing. Kailangan nating ilagay, no? Okay? So, for example, the official title of international established procedures or tests used in experiments can be written instead of describing its detailed steps. No, for example, rating process, Resazurin test, hindi mo na kailangan i-detalyado yan. Kasi mga ano na yan international test yan. Or international procedure na yan. Na alam na ng mga scientist. So, hindi mo na kailangan elaborate yan. Okay? Yan. So, this is an excerpt from the Ecofabric research, no? Materials and methodology. So, makikita talaga natin class na sobrang detalyado, including the properties, no? Including the properties. Kailangan talaga very detailed. Okay. So, ayan. So, makikita natin na talagang ito, the fabric produced when was then tested using Philippine national standards for PTF. Breaking strength, dimensional change, and piling resistance tests were conducted at DOST-PTRI. So talagang nilalagay yung location kung saan kinonduct yung experiment, kung saan kinonduct yung tests, no? Kasama po talaga yan. And then, yung measurement, napaka-importante, pati yung units nila. Di ba? The mass of the cut of the fabric in grams, the length in meters, so napaka-importante po lahat. Okay, so let us now go to the results and discussion. So it includes all data gathered from the experiments which can be presented through tables, graphs, and figures. So tatandaan po you need to organize your data, your information gathered from the result from the experiment into table, into graph, into figures. So importante po 'yan. Hindi puro textual format ang makita natin. No? Kailangan maintindihan, naka-organize ang mga numerical data natin. Okay? Appropriate data presentation must be observed. Ano bang dapat talagang ilagay? Table ba o graph? Kung anong graph ang ilalagay mo, ano bang klaseng graph? Bar graph or line graph? So you should know specifically what type of table and graph you are going to use. And it must include captions, sa ibaba, dapat merong specific captions na nakalagay. Hindi lang basta table, hindi lang basta graph, hindi lang basta figure or drawing. Kailangan may nakasulat na caption na dinidescribe mo yung table na yon, yung graph na yon, yung figure na yon. No, it must have a short description. And the discussion, of course, you need to answer the following questions. What are the established scientific knowledge? Okay? Anong nakuha mong konsepto from your study? Okay? What are and how did these factors cause such results and trends? What are the other related research or scientific knowledge that contradict such results and trends? Pwede mong ilagay kung ano yung mga existing research na kinokontra yung research mo. 'Di ba? At bakit, no? Ano yung sa tingin mong dahilan bakit nagkakaroon ng contradiction sa study mo at sa naunang study? Pwede mong ilagay sa discussion 'yon. What are and how did these possible errors affect such results and trends? So, kung sakaling may nakita kang mga errors, no, unwanted factors or mga threats sa iyong study, pwede mo diyang ilagay. Paano ito nakaka-apekto sa resulta ng iyong study? Okay? So, you also need to answer the implications of the results and trends derived from the data analysis conducted. What are and how did these factors cause such results and trends? Okay? So, yan yung mga kailangan nating ilagay. And this one is an example. Okay? This one is an example. Conclusion. Fragrant screw pine leaf fibers cannot be used as stand-alone fibers for fabric production. O nalaman nila, hindi pala pwedeng gamitin alone ang fibers ng screw pine. However, an 80 to 20 ratio of cotton fragrant screw pine yarn and fabric was successfully produced and characterized to have relatively good properties such as enough fabric weight, breaking strength, color fastness, and non-staining. Ibig sabihin, kapag sinamahan mo siya ng cotton, no? Both cotton at fragrant screw pine leaf in 80 to 20% or 80-20 ratio, ay pwede na itong maging eco-fabric na kung saan tumatagal yung kanyang strength, no? Hindi madaling mabiyak, hindi madaling masira. Okay? So, yan yung mga gusto nating malaman sa conclusion. And, of course, you need to include recommendation. What else can be done to improve your research? No? Ano pa yung kailangan gawin para magkaroon ng additional knowledge, no? Para sa research mo. Okay, what are the other variables that you can test in relation to the research? Pwede mong ilagay dito yung mga properties or variables na hindi mo na isama sa research mo. Kasi pwedeng ito yung maging references, no? Ito yung maging references sa mga future researchers, no? Itatry naman nila ngayon yung hindi mo na-try. Okay? So that's the importance of recommendation. And of course, the references, no, you have to include proper formatting, APA style, MLA style, Chicago Manual of Style. Kailangan marami tayong references kasi nagre-research tayo. So, kailangan lang pagtuunan natin ng pansin yung mga credible websites. Websites, the journals, and the books na gagamitin natin as references. Okay, so ano yung tips? Di na tayo sa last tips. Kailangan isipin nyo rin yung degree of difficulty. Okay, examine this carefully in relation to your skills, knowledge, and experience level. Tignan nyo kung kakayanin nyo talaga yung difficulty ng gagawin yung research. I-assess ninyo yung sarili nyo. I-assess nyo yung skills ninyo. I-assess ninyo yung knowledge ninyo, yung experience ninyo, at yung situation na meron kayo. Kakayanin ba yung research na gusto mong gawin? Okay? So, kailangan ma-assess mo, no, yung iyong group mates, ma-assess mo rin ang iyong sarili. And then, necessary resources and expenses. Napaka-importante nun. Baka hindi mo naman kayanin yung gastos. O kaya wala namang available na resources. No? Available na mga halaman or mga subject of material mo. Baka hindi naman available at this point of time. No? At your period of research, hindi naman pala sila available. So, i-assess mo rin yon. Kaya nga magkakaroon ka ng background study muna, 'di ba? Napaka-importante nun. And then you have to keep a notebook for you when you are doing your experiments kasi that is for your recording of data. Okay? Napaka-importante po nun. No? That is your that will be used for your recording of data. Dapat lagi mong meron kang notebook sa iyong sarili. You have to meticulously record all your observations, data procedures, setups, questions, even mistakes or failed experiments are important. No? Kasama po yun, yung mga mistakes na mangyayari. Kaya nga, ang research talagang trial and error yan eh. Kung nag-umpisa, kung may mali ka sa umpisa, talagang i-repeat mo yung experiment mo, paulit-ulit hanggang maabot mo yung maabot mo yung na kung saan talagang tama na yung iyong experiment, no? Hindi na kumbaga yung mga mistakes ay naiwasan na. So record your data using proper number of significant figures depending on the accuracy of the measurement or device. And then, general concern, ito ay napaka-importante, no? Iwasan natin ang scientific fraud and misconduct. So it is not condoned at any level or of research or competition. No, yung ano ba to? Ano ba to? Yung minamanipulate mo yung resulta ng research mo para lang maging maayos yung outcome, no? Tinatapon mo yung mga maling result, no? Sineset aside mo, hindi mo ini-include sa research. So, hindi maganda yon kasi ito ay part of scientific fraud. So, hindi rin maganda yung plagiarism dahil ginagamit mo yung work ng ibang tao. 'Di ba? Parang ginagawa mong sarili mo pero hindi naman ikaw yung gumawa. Okay. And falsification of data. No? Yung ni-record mo, tapos finalsify mo para lang makuha mo yung tamang resulta ng research. No? Iniba mo yung recording, iniba mo yung numbers na ni-record mo. So that is also wrong. So those are fraudulent acts, no, that are or that should not be done in your research. Okay, so let me end this session with a quote, no, from our greatest scientist, Albert Einstein. Imagination is more important than knowledge. Knowledge is limited. Imagination encircles the world. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to end now our session. So thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for participating. Thank you very much for all your efforts, no, in studying this research. So sana magawa natin ng husto ang ating research at sana ay makapag-contribute tayo sa ating community at sa ating bansa. Okay, so thank you very much and God bless.